Oh my. Oh my. Oh my.
You are now tuned in to the Revolution Podcast.
Yo, what it do? You know what it is, man. It's your boy J Love. You tuned in to the Revolution Podcast, man, where we trying to revolutionize your mind, your spirit, your emotions, your soul, maybe even your body, man. We start talking about food and exercise and all that good stuff. I'm excited. I'm having a great time. I have an amazing guest with me. It is a good friend of mine, Miss Rachel Caban.
Hello.
So, how you feeling?
Good. I'm good. My coffee's kicking in. I'm ready.
I'm glad you're still sticking in there with me because we'll just jump right in. I know we were talking about before the whole LGBT thing, which kind of brings me to my next topic that I wanted to talk to you about in terms of, the whole thing of identity and, figuring stuff out and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So recently, and it's really not recent, this kind of been a movement. I've been looking into this, like there's been a movement for like the last really like 20 years, right?
Right.
And there's an organization called NAMBLA, and it's the North American Man-Boy Love Association.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so, with all of the Jeffrey Epstein stuff in the news and people talking about pedophiles, there's been this swell that started in Europe. It's actually real big in Germany. They've actually decriminalized pedophilia, right? And what the movement is saying is this, is that, they've kind of adopted some of the terminology from the LGBT, I don't know if you want to call it community or movement or speech or whatever. But anyways, they've adopted some of the wordage, and they're saying love is love. And what they're saying is that pedophilia is actually an alternative sexuality. They're actually trying to, bring this, they're trying to get legislation on this. One of their objectives is to decriminalize what they want to call, and I'm gonna put in air quotes, simulated child porn, so that way, as a safe alternative, so that, they won't go to jail or get a felony or lose their jobs or whatever. And basically what they're saying is, in the same way that, say, like typically when you're like 10 years old, you like another little 10-year-old and it's natural. They just never grew out of that. It is a natural affinity. It is just like being trans, right? And so I guess my question to you, because you are an educator, is it just me, or is this absolutely stupid and asinine and absolutely incredibly dumb? But here's the flip side, though. If you can say that someone is a completely different gender than what they are, what's the big difference? Boom, just dropped it on you. Go ahead. The look on your face.
It's disgusting, and it's wrong, and it's foul, and it's rooted in perversion, and it's rooted in unhealthy sexual identity from its core. I think, and it's not that far fetched from abusive abuse, any kind of sexual abuse, whether it be pimps and hoes or it's just it's the misuse of power and security in trying to exert power over another individual, because there's no one weaker than a child. There's no one more malleable than a child in terms of their mind and their body, everything. And so it is, I agree with you that it's disgusting and all those things. And I think the only issue, if we're going to segue as you are from the trans and the LGBTQ community, is that I am hypercritical of conservative ideals that over emphasize certain disgusting ideas in order to win and to attack the LGBTQ community.
Right.
So I agree that it's disgusting. And from what I was doing research on, many people in the LGBTQ community are rejecting this ideal and rejecting this idea of adding this to their agenda. However, I think it's I can see how it's not that far fetched, because of, if you just let whatever you feel, be what you're gonna do, you know. And it's like, yeah, like we got this. Like then you can convince yourself of anything that is acceptable. But I just, for me as a Christian, and for me as a person who wants to stand for love, like you, right? And for community, it's essential for me not to jump on the conspiracy bandwagons that try to make this thing like it's the hugest problem in the world, when there are so many other issues of sexual abuse and sexual violence that are happening daily in homes today. And when we look at things like the pandemic, how many kids are stuck at home with their abusers?
Right.
In this time, it's quarantine with their abusers.
Right.
Many young people, I can't even tell you, if I'm in a room with 10 women, at least 6 of them have been sexually violated.
Wow.
And most of them by somebody close to them, somebody in their home, somebody in their family. And so understanding that perversity, it's just a root of just something of not having healthy sexual relationships, healthy sexual development. And so I just want to be very careful on the Christian and conservative agenda to try to lump some of these things for the purposes of taking down the LGBT community and their ideals.
Well, the only reason I made the correlation is because they're doing it, right?
But who is? Like the pedophiliacs,
yeah,
right?
the NAMBLA and some of the other organizations that are doing this, right? And so that's why, because when I was reading this stuff, I was like, well, okay. So
this is where I get because I was looking and I was like, okay, I'm going to talk about this. And it's not really my passion, right?
Right.
I don't want to talk about this. I'm a teacher. I love children. I don't want to talk about this. But where are news sources? Where are they coming from?
Right. Well,
right. Like who are the people that are saying that this is the biggest part of our agenda? And like somebody sent me something, and I believe that sex trafficking and abuse of children is a major issue, but it's oftentimes lumped on some with devil worshiping and like this hyper conservative ideals, which I think is like, all right, like you're missing the point. It's kind of like every time somebody talks about like, oh, well, J-Love, I know you criticized my curly hair, but what about your hair? It's like you're missing the focus. Like stick with the focus. Like, and so that's what I feel like when it comes to that issue, that people want to lump something with the LGBT so that we can just be upset with all of them and see like, oh, they're trying to rape our children. And that's nothing new. They want to make every lesbian and every gay person act like they want to rape your children.
Right.
And it's kind of like, like to me, this is what it looks like to me. Because I want to just see people for people and everybody at wherever they are. You know that Antoine, remember when he was like, hide your kids, hide your wives?
Yeah.
They raping everybody out here?
Yeah.
That's what I see. That's the vision that I see when I see people getting all hyper excited and want to lump everything together. And that's my opinion. So,
right. Well, but they're getting some
traction.
Yeah, they're getting some traction. And the thing is okay, again, they've adopted love is love, and I'm just giving the argument.
But where do you find this? Like, I was having a really hard time finding it. I believe you, but
it's NAMBLA, the North
American.
Yes,
I saw that on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
So I saw that, and NAMBLA, the guy, what's his name? Something Stanbrod or something. I forgot his name. He was thrown in jail, right? Or it was dismantled in Canada or something.
Yeah, but and the thing is that part of their argument is if you can allow a child as young as 5 to quote unquote transition, right, to live life as another gender, if a child is mature enough to make that decision,
okay,
I'm just giving you the argument. If a child is mature enough to make that, which is a major decision.
It is.
Okay? Because at 5, I wasn't thinking about none of that.
No.
At 18.
And that's why I disagree with it. Like, and I think that was I think one of the biggest problems for, this is funny, but like, if you really struggle, because I think that there are people who really struggle with same-sex attraction. And sometimes they're born with this. Sometimes it's brought on by social and cultural situations. And sometimes it's brought on by abuse. Like that, it comes in all kinds of different forms, and some people are just born that way. Like, I really do believe that, because I believe the Bible talks about, and this is my biblical belief, that we're born in sin, and so it's not that far-fetched. I'm bored. I'm born not knowing how to share. Right. I'm born not knowing how to be nice to people. That's just you're taught these things.
Can you be born a pedophile?
You can, but that doesn't mean that you walk out in it. In the same way, like we're all born to we have genetic codes that kind of can keep us prone to certain disorders, right? Like my dad was a drug addict. So there's a good chance that I have a very addictive personality. And if I'm not careful, Like I'm very cautious of those
Right.
things,
You drink
right?
a lot of coffee.
Like I drink coffee and that's my thing, right? Like, but I definitely avoid, like, I mean, I didn't try drugs until, I mean, I didn't try drugs really. I tried weed once, but like not
Did you
until,
inhale? Did you inhale?
I don't know. I thought I was dying. I knew I was going to go to hell. It was horrible. I was like, I'm such a sinner. And then I got like these theories. But anyway, it was like a bad situation. But I was terrified of that for so many years because I knew what my dad had gone through.
Right.
But all that to be said, I think when it comes to the gay and transgendered and all of the agenda, like, I think the hard thing is for people who truly struggle with gender identity, and not gender identity, I'm sorry, same-sex attraction, and they're like, I don't know, I just like girls or I like guys, like, and that's just what I was born with. Like, I believe that's a real struggle, and I believe that, but I think their message is being convoluted by their trying to be welcoming to everything. Because I don't think that same-sex attraction is the same as gender identity, and the fact that it's being lumped together
But
is
watch this.
very
So going
bad.
back to this argument, this is what
So
they're saying.
I agree with you
if
that
I was born with the same sex attraction, right, but that attraction, stays in the range of, say, 5 to 10 years old.
That doesn't align with healthy maturity and the maturity.
I'm just giving you the argument.
No, I know. And I'm just saying that I'm giving you, like, looking at child development.
Yeah.
And from its core and the different stages of development, like, it doesn't correlate with healthy development unless there was abuse, unless there was some kind of problem in their development phase. It's not consistent with maturing as a person.
I don't know. I was in love with my teacher in the second grade.
I mean, trust, I've had some calls. We got some, but like, it's funny. The gentleman who hit me up, they wait for about 5-6 years. And then they're like, I think I'm grown enough to hit her up now. And I'm like, no, like, back up, guys.
No, I was trying to holler at my teacher in the second grade. Miss Saavedra. Man.
See, but like, I never had that. I never had that crush on the teachers.
Yeah, but it just, like I said, there's so many things out there right now. And it's like their argument is kind of, and I think they're ridiculous. I mean, I think it's all ridiculous to me. But the point is that.
But wait, so you're saying like an attraction to your teacher was saying like, oh, well, that's not abuse. That's just me liking and have a crush on a teacher that's older.
I see now that it's dysfunctional.
Well, I don't know if it is, because I think for males to be to have that attraction to that kind of maturity or that kind of motherly figure is not that weird. So it's like it's an attraction. And now if you are acting on these weird attractions and then you find a woman who for some reason is attracted to a child, that's where something weird happens.
That's a whole different show that we're going to talk about.
No, it's actually not. It's the same idea. Love is love, right? A woman attracted to a child, it's the same. It's not always men attracted to children.
True. I mean, it's predominantly men, or at least that's what they tell us.
I don't think so. I don't think it is. I mean, the majority of, like, I've had even inside accounts of like grown women having sex with teenagers and having been removed from their position as teachers.
My first experience was with an older woman. But again, this is where I come from, where, whatever, it's like, boys are like, oh, that's a cool thing.
Right. But can you imagine, for me as a grown woman, and I have an 18-year-old kid trying to get at me, I'm 38. So I was young. Right. So let me see. Like, I've had 14-year-olds hit on me.
10.
Okay.
I was 10.
Okay, well, I've had some young ones hit on me. I've had 5-year-olds trying to give me flowers. Let's just say.
One of my babysitters, I was trying to give her the business. I'm trying to tell you.
I can't with you.
I was trying to give her the business.
So the problem is what you know about the business at 10. That's the problem. You should not have known about the business at 10.
I heard about it. But here's my point, is that on the reverse, if it would have been like, say, my cousin, like a little girl or whatever, and a grown man, I'd be like, oh my God, that's disgusting.
Well, no, for me though, see, that's where that's the issue that I feel most passionate about when we talk about, like, the issue with that is that because that's that anti-feminist idea, that's that machismo kicking in.
Right.
And the reality is, for me, when I see a grown woman go after a child, 17, 16, 15, 14, 11, 10.
Right.
I'm just as appalled because I know the damage that can do to that 10-year-old young man. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you can say, oh, well, he's fine. No. Sexual assault or sexual abuse at any age for any young person starts to warp their mind and warp their understanding and their healthy boundaries of sex. And so even though people make it out and they're all right, it takes a lot of growth and healing. And I'm very passionate about that because I've seen the damage that broken sexual relationships can do. And like even people saying, hey, like I was gay, but now I'm married, so everything's okay. And the church tries to do this a lot. They try to get marry people off so you don't have these sexual urges towards
It's hilarious.
right. But they still struggle with it. And it doesn't heal their relationship. They're having sex with their husbands and still thinking about women. It has to be a deeper healing. And I think that I really feel passionate about I know that guys see it differently. And at a certain age, they kind of have this odd attachment to the motherly figures and all that.
Well, with guys, because we're so like dysfunctional as it is. Like I started watching porn, or was introduced to porn, I should say. I don't know. I think at least at like 4 or 5 years old.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so, and it's encouraged within male circles. You know, and older cousins and brothers and neighbors.
The thing that I would tell you from personal experience with a lot of the people that I work with is that it's not just guys who are encountering it. It's just guys have a social outlet to discuss it. Girls struggle with masturbation and porn and all of those things, except instead of feeling like, oh, it's just natural, it's just what happens and da-da-da-da. No, girls then are shamed and put into corners and told to keep that to themselves. And so they don't have a place to do it. So it's equally damaging, equally problematic. The problem is that because of culture, we have allowed men to be acceptable to men and not acceptable for women. And then when you have that clash, it shouldn't be acceptable for anyone on some level, right? Like it shouldn't. It starts to like warp your ideas for how you connect with a partner.
Well, even, okay, you know, and even looking at what we started in terms of this whole pedophilia thing.
Right.
I mean, really, here's the crazy thing. If you look at it, right,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of young boys that are molested.
Yes.
Right.
It happens
But
very often. And not just by men, by women.
Right. But what really makes the news is, okay, going back to Epstein and, you know, allegedly all of his friends, including number 45, Mr. Trump, visiting the island. It's because it was a bunch of little girls. Right. But usually when it's like a dude that gets molested, it's just, you know.
Man up.
My bad.
But you know what? I'll say it this way. It's like that for men, but it's also like that for women of color.
True.
I mean, we are having this whole Epstein thing, right? But what happened with R. Kelly? We let that go, right? Like, because what we talk about when we look at how women and young women of color are dealt with in this country, it's not what they don't feel. The tears don't count the same.
And let me say this real quick. I remember, because I'm still of a certain age, that, you know, I remember being in high school and like a lot of the girls at school had boyfriends that were like 24, 25 years old. And it was normal, right? And I'm not saying this, but I'm just saying back then it was normal, right? So here's the thing about R. Kelly is I think a lot of people were like, oh yeah, because when he first started doing the stuff that he was doing, right? He was in his 20s, right? And so when they said he was hanging out at the McDonald's and you know, whatever, I know that guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that guy.
I do too. And I'll say that as a 12-year-old, I knew that guy too.
You know, and
so it's not okay.
Right.
Because like what happens oftentimes is those girls who are going for those older guys are usually trapped in a lot of different ways. I will tell you this, I got hit on a lot at 10 and 11 because my hips started to come in. Right. Like, and I didn't know like what was going on. I was just a kid because in my home, I was told I was beautiful. I was fearfully and wonderfully made. I had a purpose. I had all this being pumped in, and I walk out into the public and they saw me different. And I'm tall too. So I'm like 5'9", and I was tall as a kid. So you have all of that. I had grown men hitting on me, but my heart had like this shield because I was like, no, like that's not right. That's not what I'm going to go for. But when you have people who have been broken, and I tell you how many of the girls have been abused and who have no kind of power and don't understand themselves and their power, yeah, it's normal. Yeah, I got a boyfriend who's 20-something because I'm searching for hunger and love and a father figure I never had. Talking like, I mean, it all comes back together and all around, even with the robbing of the black man from the community and the mass incarceration. Like all those things play into these effects, and that's why it's such an important conversation. All these are important conversations to have because it's going back to our health, our sexual health, and our human health, and our connection with one another.
We got a lot to talk about, man. We got a lot of unpacking to do. You know what I'm saying? But look,
well, you started deep. I'll tell you that.
We gonna keep going there. But look, holla at me, because we definitely, I want to hear from the people. Get at your boy on Instagram at The Revolution Podcast or at JLoveOfficial. But yeah, we gonna continue this conversation and keep it pushing. But I really appreciate you because again, you speak intelligently about what we're talking about. It's not just emotion, and I think that's what's needed in order to unpack these things and have the dialogue and try to get some semblance of healing. But again, it's your boy J Love. Thank you, Rachel. I appreciate you. We're gonna holler at y'all in a minute, man.
Thank you for joining us. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. We want to hear from you. Instagram at The Revolution Podcast, at JLoveOfficial, and at Mars Mindset.